Okay, recording this video on Wednesday, the 13th of January 2021. It's just gone 1:29 p.m. Chicago time. Do hope you are doing well. So, it's Wednesday. I thought I would do a quick spin around the futures charts and just show you what I'm looking at. This kind of time of year, beginning of January, I always find interesting because we tend to get quite a lot of rotation happening, kind of big moves in the major kind of asset classes. A lot of fund managers are starting to reassess their strategies looking out for the next year. So you can see kind of major changes in these major asset classes. Things like currencies, equities, bonds, commodities in general is a big kind of futures grouping. But so I'm always kind of interested to see, are we seeing the beginnings of some of these kind of big rotations kind of going on? Because we've had some pretty big moves in some of these markets over the last year. So are people going to be taking profits and rotating to other assets? I don't think I've got a conclusive story today about what might be going on, but we can certainly see some inklings of those. So anyway, I'll show you what I'm seeing on my charts. So we're going to go through quite a few charts. We've got the Emini chart, we've got natural gas, coffee, Aussie dollar, Canadian dollar, Bitcoin, and then corn, soybeans, and wheat to review. And with all of these, just going to be using the better indicators on the two charts set up kind of side by side. Left-hand side, we've got better pro-am and better momentum. These are the volume-based indicators. And on the right-hand side, we've got better sine wave, which is the price-based indicator. So I've got my usual kind of spiel about that. We've got better momentum below the price bars, and that's a volume-based momentum indicator. Gives us kind of exhaustion patterns, bullish and bearish divergence patterns, and flush patterns. And then on the price bars themselves, we've got better pro-am, which is showing professional and amateur activity. So that's calculating the average trade size and then identifying professionals and amateurs using that trade size. Right-hand side is better sine wave. Better sine wave is an amazing indicator that allows you to calculate the cyclical energy in different time frames. And we use 3 different time frames, each a factor of 3 larger than the smaller time frame. And then from that, we create support and resistance lines that are kind of adaptive to prices. And when we have breakouts of those support and resistance lines, that gives us trend moves. Uptrends in red, downtrends in white. And when both indicators, sets of indicators, the volume-based and the price-based indicators, are in sync and moving together, the backgrounds are painted with gray for downtrends and weakness and red for uptrends and strength. So there we go. That's my spiel. Now, this is my long-term chart of the Emini. It's a 10,000 tip bar chart. And just what I'm going to show you here is better pro-am on this chart, which is interesting to me. And just to note, normally with the E-mini, what I do in my day trading is I stop better pro-am from calculating the average trade size in the last 20-25 minutes of trade, because the E-mini is almost unique amongst all futures markets in that there's a real bump in average trade size, particularly at the end of the day and the beginning of the day. And sometimes that's just closing out positions by kind of big players. However, sometimes it can be kind of position taking. So particularly the end of the day, I'm interested in what the professionals are doing. So I happen to switch that off. So if you're a user of the better indicators, just to go to better pro-am, I'm just going to show you that formatting setting. So on this particular chart, the exclude time is set to false. Normally, I'm excluding time on my day trading charts from 2:50 onwards till 7:30 in the morning the next day because of that huge imbalance in the average trade size. But sometimes it's useful to look at. So, for example, if we go back over the last several days, so these are beginning and end of days, the vertical indicators here. So this is today's activity, yesterday's activity. This was the Sunday open, so we got Friday, Thursday, Wednesday. So you can see here at the end of the day, a whole bunch of blue professional bars that traded at the end of the day into the close and the first bar after the close. and that caught a nice low in the market down here, 37.30, and we've kind of rallied from there. Also, we had a nice little kind of hold at the end of the day, the next day, and a profit taking up here with exhaustion buy at that point. Now, so you often see these patterns at the end of the day, but when you get them kind of midday, I also find them very interesting, and that's what we're getting today. We've got a midday pattern where the blue professional bars have been going off since, what is that, midday today, and we've got a whole bunch of blue professional bars. This to me looks like a gathering pattern. So a gathering pattern is a whole bunch of blue professional bars happening at a previous high, ready for a jump. So we're coming back up to, this kind of area is 3,800 here, and it's been a high marked a couple of times. First time by the amateurs getting too excited, and then the next time we came into the to that high, the professionals took profits and we kind of sold off. However, the end of yesterday we had some blue professional bars, just one I think there, but we got a whole heap going on at the moment. It doesn't come with an exhaustion pattern. There's nothing to say that we're kind of exhausted in terms of selling. It doesn't look like a flush pattern setting up there. It's kind of elevated levels. They're buying everything, in my view, in the stack, kind of getting ready for the jump above 3,800s and plus. So the other reason why I think that's a gathering pattern waiting for the next jump is cyclically there's no pattern to stop us at this point. Last time around when we came into these highs, you can see we were exhausted. We had end of trend moves up here, second cyclical turn after an end of trend. That's an important point. We also started to put in some cyclical activity. We couldn't get through there, so we bust into an uptrend, and cyclically we were running out of energy. Now, at this point, what we're doing is, we're busting above resistance on the intermediate time frame, and the lowest time frame there, but we've got no end of trend signals at this point. We might be coming up to a cyclical resistance on the highest time frame here, but it hasn't gone off yet. We've still got this cyclical support that's been playing into the market for the last 3 or 4 days. We've tested into this level at 37.76 around here a few times. This was a little bit of a flushing out kind of pattern. We're kind of getting rid of a whole bunch of sellers at that point, and we've been breaking above resistances, but not into a proper trend move with pullback to end of trends yet. So that cyclically and kind of trend signal wise hasn't got us into end of trend patterns at that point. And in fact, we're breaking above resistances, kind of continuing that uptrend. So that for me looks like a gathering pattern, kind of waiting for the jump to get above these kind of previous highs, and then go have another look at an exhaustion pattern or a flush pattern or something like that. So that's the E-mini chart. That's what I'm seeing. Now, natural gas. Natural gas are bought into here at 266 here because blue professional bars had kind of come in. Natural gas has kind of been interesting on the downside because we've never seen exhaustion selling with blue professional bars kind of come in yet. We had exhaustion selling, bullish divergence, one little blue professional bar kind of down here, but nothing since. And so when we started to see this pattern, this came out of news in Europe, I think, where they had record kind of low temperatures, demand for gas kind of spiked up, and I think this is like a US base priced gas contract that started to spike higher. Do I know the ins and outs of where the gas is traded, blah 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 blah? No, I do not. All I need is the chart. That's all I'm looking at professional activity and amateur activity, and see where they kind of come in. So we had a nice little spike to the upside here with an exhaustion buy, but that is not happening at a previous high. It's not kind of showing exhaustion selling. For me, that's getting the move going, and we had a lot of blue professional bars kind of come in here to buy that. And what we've done, we've just kind of come off. We ran out of gas for the time being, ran out of just juice to move us forward, and we've come back into that kind of blue professional acquisition zone in there. And this for me is really interesting. The first little blue professional bar to kind of spike to come in here. It's caused us to stair step up on a better pro-am. I like that for a setup if we get above the high here. If we kind of break through these lows and continue, I've got this wrong, and all that was a move, blue professional bars taking profits, and it's going to kind of look to the lows again down here. So I'm looking for that in the next few bars to see that we actually get continuation above that blue professional bar, and this thing kind of moves on. So natural gas is looking good to me, if we get that confirmation. Coffee. I'm back into coffee. Coffee, I have a love-hate relationship. It's been good for me last year, but the last kind of move down I was disappointed by, so I was kind of waiting for a setup here. And here you can see we come back into, I was talking about $100 on coffee, was a really important kind of psychological kind of area that we should be holding around. And, we've been sitting in this congestion zone that's been kind of good. We didn't see any blue professional bars, not many blue professional bars kind of taking profits at the highs. This is kind of getting the move going, not unlike that kind of natural gas kind of pattern where we come back into that zone where the blue professional bars were acquiring and we hold, and we keep on holding every time we kind of come into there. So we come back into the highs of that kind of area, and the blue professional bars get interested again couple of times here, and then with today's activity we've spiked above that high there. So back into coffee, and let's see if this is good for a run above this 130 level, testing back up into this 138 or whatever level here with an exhaustion pattern where we kind of really get this thing going. So it's been messy with all of this. I'm going day after day. I look at my charts and I'd say, whoopee, we're up big time and then we're kind of down big time. So hopefully this is more of a setup with more blue professional bars confirming that we're going to break above 128. Now, this is interesting to me because dollar index and all the currency charts, I mean, we've had huge weakness in the dollar index, and everything else on the flip side has been going higher. And we've had a massive move here in Aussie dollar, and you can see, blue professional bars. This is where they held it, and we broke into an uptrend. And all we've seen since is no blue professional bars at the highs. We got to 178 something, kind of up here, folded back down, and kind of weakness for the time being. Maybe cyclically we might be coming down to a support, but you can see the blue professional bars certainly held it here at these lows, and we've gone to these highs. I'm wondering if that's a profit-taking kind of zone. We definitely held it. We pushed it back up, and so let's just see what happens here, whether we kind of continue to just trade in a range, which will mean professionals are taking profits up here above 77 and kind of getting out. Any break below 77 would show that move could be over, and we could be on for a little bit of a move to the downside. So I'm interested in the setup in Aussie dollar. Canadian dollar's done exactly the same, same kind of pattern. No blue professional bars at the highs, really kind of taking profits. They held it down here at this breakdown to 77 and pushed it back up. So let's see, is it a continuation of the uptrend, or is it just an area where they're disposing of this? They're using that whole area to kind of get out. If that's the case and we start to see breaks below 77 on Canadian dollar and Aussie dollar, be looking for the euro charts, British pound charts, and all of those Japanese yen charts to see, are we going to have a reversal move? This is one of these things that we could see at the beginning of this year, where we get a rotation out of these currency plays that have been very profitable for the big traders over the last 6 months or so, and could they be taking profits and reversing out of that, and we get a period of several months of weakness in these kind of risk-on currencies. So wait to see, but that 77 kind of number is going to be interesting. Bitcoin, okay, well, last week I told you that I'd taken profits of Bitcoin. I was too early getting out. I got out at, not getting out, just took profits on a small portion of my holdings there, about 5% at 37 and a bit on Bitcoin, and we came back up to almost 42. But on the Bitcoin chart, this one I'm just looking at a 10,000 tip bar chart. I'm not trading Bitcoin at all. I'm a hodler. So holding Bitcoin for the long term. But could we be setting up for this next kind of rally up in Bitcoin? You can see there was no blue professional bars on the 10,000 tip bar chart up at 42. It was being led by the amateurs, all this amateur activity. Amateurs pushing in here, here, and here. All of those price points, that was just showing amateurs pushing the way. It's going to be weak because of that, and therefore we fall back down here at 32. I think this has been yesterday's activity as well. We had a whole bunch of blue professional bars kind of come in. We come to test the lows of that blue professional bar. this one here where they got interested. We test the lows a couple of times, and now we've broken above 36s. So are we going for another push up to 42? And let's see where this goes. And cyclical patterns, yep, we got support in the highest time frame, broken into some strength kind of up here. So let's see if we kind of push on through 42s. I didn't realize it had come down to 30,000. That's on the Forex chart for Bitcoin. So that for me was an important number. When I looked at it on my other charts, I didn't think it came down that low. But anyway, that's interesting. Psychologically, that 30,000 as a place to stop the collapse would psychologically really be an important area. And then again, talking about more kind of rotations, let's just talk about the grains. We've got corn, soybeans and wheat here, and these have been kind of spectacular moves that we've had in the last 6 months maybe in corn. And finally we get these kind of exhaustion patterns with blue professional bars, just huge moves up here in corn. And it's also coming with, you know, pullback to end of trends, second cyclical turn after end of trends, having been a massive rally. So that is looking like professional profit taking before it kind of reverses and go the other way. You know, we're going to go through an area of consolidation before that, but it's been a big move, so maybe that's just over for the time being. Soybeans again, huge. Each time we had a stair step, you know, we broke into an uptrend here. That was a beautiful entry point, stair step here, and then a couple of places where they were professional profit taking here, and then up here into this move. So for me, those are showing kind of exhaustion. And is it going to be time for a rollover? And then lastly, wheat. Let's look at that. So wheat, not as strong a move, bouncing off Rambo patterns. So amateurs being wrong-footed here, but they kind of caught up with the rest of the grains with this move. But here, that's looking more like a U-turn on wheat, taking profits and then getting a short on the way down. Cyclically, again, it's an area where we've overshot. So, but we've not got weakness yet. Anyway, so there we go. Quick rip through the futures charts. You can see the E-minis kind of come off a little bit towards the end of the day. And natural gas is looking good to break that bar. So let's see what happens. Anyway, hope your trading is going well.